Chapter 1. The Ghost of the Corner Store. I want you to walk with me for a minute. Picture a corner in your neighborhood. Maybe it's one you pass on the way to work, or the one you see from your kitchen window. Now, think back 5, maybe 10 years. What was on that corner? Was it a family-owned bakery? The one where the smell of fresh bread hit you from a block away? Was it a barbershop? Buzzing with conversation and the sound of clippers at work. Maybe it was a small bookstore with a cat sleeping in the window, or a hardware store where the owner knew your name and exactly what kind of screw you need for that project you've been putting off. Now, what's on that corner today? Is it a national coffee chain with a logo you see in every airport? Is it a bank branch? Or is it just empty? A vacant storefront with dusty windows and a faded for lease sign? You've experienced that loss, haven't you? That feeling that your neighborhood is changing around you and not with you. That the places that stitched the community together, the places that made it feel like home, are disappearing, one by one, replaced by something more generic, more anonymous. You aren't imagining it, and the feeling of powerlessness that comes with it, the sense that these are huge, unstoppable forces at play, that's by design. But what if I told you that design can be broken? What if I told you that you have more power to shape the future of that corner than you've ever been led to believe? In our last series, Unmask and Rise trilogy, we did the deep work of building personal power and economic agency. Today, we're taking these tools and putting them to work right outside our front door. We're talking about how to stop being a spectator to your neighborhood story and start being one of its authors. Chapter 2. The power in your wallet and your voice. Welcome, or welcome back to Our Conversations. I'm your host, Alan. This is the show where we move from theory to action, from personal growth to collective power. We are so glad that you're here. Today, we're tackling one of the most personal and political issues we face, the future of our own neighborhoods. It's a conversation about gentrification, yes, but it's more than that. It's a conversation about belonging, about culture, about community wealth, and about power. Our mission today is to give you a playbook. We're going to demystify the forces changing our community, from rising rents to the influx of chain stores. We will look at the hard data and the human stories behind it. But more importantly, we're going to uncover hidden levers of power that are waiting for you to pull. We're talking about supporting local businesses and, in a very real sense, buying back the neighborhood, not just with our money, but with our intention, our voices, and our votes. Chapter 3. Why neighborhoods change. Before we can build a solution, we have to be brutally honest about the problem. The changes we see on our streets isn't random. It's a process. And that process has a name. Commercial gentrification. It's the economic and social engine that transforms a neighborhood by supplementing or replacing incumbent businesses, the ones that have served the community for years, with new goods and services that cater to a new, typically more affluent consumer base. This isn't just about a new cafe opening up. It's about a fundamental shift in who the neighborhood is for. And the data on this is sobering. Research consistently shows a distinct pattern. While gentrification can bring an increase in the total number of businesses, it also brings higher rates of business closure and churn. And when a local business is displaced in a gentrifying area, it is far more likely to be replaced by a multiple establishment business, what we all know as a chain. One study found that while chains represent a small fraction of replacements overall, their presence is significantly more pronounced in gentrifying areas compared to non-gentrifying ones. This disruption is not felt equally. The data shows that Black and Latino-owned businesses are at a particularly high rate of displacement. They face a dual threat. Their traditional customer base is often being priced out of the neighborhood, while they simultaneously face systemic barriers to accessing the capital needed to adapt to rising rents and a changing market. There's a lot of evidence, across the United States, that BIPOC small businesses end up getting displaced more than white-owned businesses. So let's trace how this vicious cycle actually works on the ground. It begins with a neighborhood being identified for its potential, often meaning it's affordable, culturally rich, and has good transit. New, often wealthier, and whiter residents begin to move in. This influx immediately changes two things: the cost of living and consumer demand. Commercial rents start to rise, putting immediate pressure on a small business owner who may have a lease coming up for renewal. Simultaneously, the new residents have different tastes and, critically, different spending habits. The corner store that sold plantains and Goya may see its customer base shrink, while demand for oat milk lattes and artisanal cheese grows. The local business owner is now in a bind. Do they change their entire business model to cater to new tastes, alienating their longtime customers? Can they even afford to? Often, the answer is no. And when that business closes, something interesting happens. Research shows that in gentrifying neighborhoods, those commercial spaces tend to sit vacant for longer periods of time than in other areas. This creates blight and a sense of decay, even as residential property values are soaring. And who can finally afford to move into that vacant space with its new, higher rent? Who has the capital, the brand recognition, and the standardized business plan to succeed in this new environment? A national chain. They can absorb the higher costs, and their success isn't dependent on the cultural fabric of the neighborhood. And their arrival acts as a signal, attracting even more outside investments and residents, which further accelerates the cycle of rent hikes and displacement. It's a feedback loop that systemically erodes local character and replaces it with homogenization. Chapter 4. The blueprint for buying back the block. Okay, that sounds overwhelming. Sounds like an unstoppable machine. So if these forces are so big, then where do we even start? We start by understanding the system has weak points. It has pressure points. Our plan today is to expose those weak points and give you the tools to exploit them. This isn't just a feel-good talk. It's a blueprint for taking back control. Our journey today has 3 parts. First, we're going to follow the money. We'll look at the real, measurable economic power of supporting local businesses and how your individual spending choices create a collective economic shield for your community. Second, we're going to follow the power. We'll uncover shocking truth about who actually runs your city and why your voice and your vote is infinitely more powerful than you think, especially at the local level. And third, we're going to follow history. We'll learn from 3 incredible stories of ordinary people who have organized their neighbors and changed the nation, leaving us a playbook for how to do it again. Right here, right now. Chapter 5. The playbook for people-powered change. The local economic multiplier. Why your dollar has superpowers at home. Let's start with the most direct action you can take, where you spend your money. This isn't just about shopping small. This is about understanding a powerful economic principle called the local multiplier effect. Here's how it works. When you spend, say, $100 at a big box national chain store, a majority of that money is immediately vacuumed out of your community. It goes to a corporate headquarters in another state, to shareholders across the globe. A small fraction stays in the form of local wages, but the bulk of it is gone. Now take that same $100 and spend it at a locally owned bookstore, restaurant, or hardware store. Studies have shown that a significantly larger percentage of that money, sometimes more than double, stays and recirculates in your local economy. Why? Because that local business owner is more likely to live in that community. They use local accountants, local printers, and local suppliers. They bank at the local credit union. They spend their profits at other local businesses. That one $100 transaction doesn't just happen once. It ripples through the community, funding other businesses, creating local jobs, and building collective wealth. But the impact goes far beyond the purely economic. These local businesses are what sociologists call third places. They are the places outside of our homes, the first place, and our workplaces, the second place. where we build social connection. They are the coffee or juice shops where neighbors bump into each other, the barber shops that serve as informal community centers, the diners where friendships are formed over countless cups of coffee, the diners where friendships are formed over countless cups of coffee. They are the social glue. They sponsor the local Little League team. They provide that first job for a neighborhood teenager. They are the keeper of the community's culture and character. When a chain store replaces a local business, we don't just lose a shop. We lose a third place. We lose a piece of our social infrastructure. So when you choose to buy your coffee from the local cafe instead of the global giant, you are not just buying a beverage. You are casting an economic vote. You are making a direct, tangible investment in the social cohesion, cultural identity, and shared wealth of your neighborhood. How local politics is won by who shows up. Okay, voting with your dollars is powerful, but it's only half the equation. The other half, the half that most people ignore, is where the rules of the game is written. I'm talking about local politics. And I need you to lean in for this, because what I'm about to share is the single biggest secret to taking back your neighborhood. Let's look at the data. In the 2020 US presidential election, about 67% of eligible voters turned out. That's a relatively high number for us. But what about the elections that decide who sits on your city council, your school board, or in the mayor's office? The turnout is catastrophic. In many of America's largest cities, turnout for municipal elections is less than 15%. For local school board elections, which control massive budgets and impact our children directly, it often drops to a shocking 5 to 10%. Now, let's look who's voting in the elections we do pay attention to. The US Census Bureau data from the 2022 midterms is a wake-up call. There is a massive gap in participation. While 58% of eligible homeowners voted, only 37% of eligible renters cast a ballot. That's a 21-point gap. The gap based on income is even more staggering. For households earning over $100,000 a year, 67% voted. For households earning under $20,000, 33% voted. That is a 34 percentage point gap. It's a chasm. Now let's connect the dots. Who makes the decision about zoning changes that allow a 30-story luxury condo to be built on your block? Who approves the tax breaks for a massive developer? Who sets the policies that could protect small businesses from predatory rent hikes? It's the very mayors, city council members, and county commissioners who are elected in these ultra-low turnout elections. And who are the elected officials most responsive to? The people who voted them into office and fund their campaigns. The data tells us exactly who that is. A small, motivated, and unrepresentative slice of the population, made up disproportionately of high-income homeowners. The very people that benefit the most from rising property values are the ones with the most influence on the policies that drive those values up, often at the expense of small businesses and renters. The system isn't broken. It's working perfectly for the handful of people who show up. The policies that accelerate gentrification are not an accident. They are the direct, logical, predictable outcome of this massive participation gap. But here's the secret. This isn't bad news. It's the key. The throne of local power isn't occupied by some unbeatable king. It's empty. It's an unclaimed throne, waiting for the people who actually live in the community, who feel the pain of displacement, who love the character of their neighborhood, to simply show up and take charge. Your voice, your vote, is not a drop in the ocean in these elections. It's a tidal wave. I want you to think about that gap, a 34-point gap between the highest and lowest income voters. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. And inside that canyon is where all the decisions about your rent, your corner store, and your neighborhood's future are made. What happens when we decide to fill that canyon with our voices? Share this clip and tell us one local issue in your community that needs more attention. Use hashtag Ours now. Lessons from the front line. 3 times the people won. This isn't a theory. This is history. The idea of ordinary people organizing to change their circumstances is the story of this country. Let's look at 3 case studies. 3 tactical blueprints of local movements that started small and changed the nation. Case study 1, the Montgomery bus boycotts and the power of sustained organization. We all know the story of Rosa Parks, but the boycott she sparked on December 1st, 1955, was not a spontaneous event. It was the result of years of groundwork by organizations like the Women's Political Council, who had been documenting abuses and planning for this exact moment. When the boycotts began, the community leaders immediately formed the Montgomery Improvement Association, or MIA, to organize the effort. Their challenge was immense: how to sustain a boycott among 40,000 Black residents, many of whom relied on the bus to get to work. Their answer was a logistical masterpiece: the carpool system. This wasn't just a few people giving their friends a ride. The MIA created a parallel transit system. At its peak, it involved over 300 private cars, 22 church-owned station wagons, 43 dispatch stations, and 42 pickup stations, all running on a schedule from 5:30 in the morning until after midnight. They transported over 30,000 people every single day. They raised their own funds at weekly mass meetings to pay for gas, insurance, and repairs. For 381 days, they sustained this effort in the face of harassment, arrests, and violence. And it worked. The boycott ended only when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Browder versus Gale that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. The lesson is this: when the existing system is designed to oppress you, you build your own. Community power isn't just about protesting. It's about creating alternative systems that allow you to outlast and outorganize the opposition. Case study number 2, the Love Canal Homeowners Association and the power of relentless advocacy. In the late 1970s, in a working-class neighborhood in Niagara Falls, New York, a young mother named Louise Gibbs noticed her son was constantly sick. She soon discovered why. Her entire neighborhood, including an elementary school, was built on top of a leaking waste dump containing 21,000 tons of deadly chemicals. Louise Gibbs was not a scientist. She was not a politician. She was a resident who was scared for her family, but she turned that fear into action. She founded the Love Canal Homeowners Association. When government officials told them everything was fine, they refused to believe it. They conducted their own investigation, a form of citizen science. They went door to door with maps of the neighborhood, sticking pins to record every reported case of miscarriage, birth defect, asthma, and cancer. They created their own data, a visual nightmare that proved the official story was a lie. They became relentless. They protested, held press conferences, and even held 2 EPA officials hostage to force the government to listen. Their local grassroots fight became a national scandal, and the result was monumental. Their activism led directly to the passage of the Federal Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act of 1980, better known as the Superfund Act. This landmark law created a federal fund to clean up toxic waste sites across the country. The lesson: you don't need a PhD to demand accountability. Your lived experience is data. Persistent, informed, and righteous anger, when organized, can move the federal government and create laws that protect millions. Case study 3, Harvey Milk in San Francisco and the power of coalition building. In the 1970s, Harvey Milk was a camera shop owner in San Francisco's Castro district, a sanctuary for the city's gay population, but still a place rife with discrimination. After several failed campaigns, Milk realized to win political power, he couldn't just rely on his own community. he had to build bridges. His most famous alliance was with the Teamsters Union. The union was organizing a boycott of Coors beer because of the company's anti-union labor practices. Milk saw an opportunity. The gay community also had grievances with Coors for its discriminatory hiring policies and financial support of anti-gay politicians. Milk used his influence to convince gay bars in the Castro to stop selling Coors, joining the Teamsters boycott. This coalition of union workers and gay activists created a powerful economic bloc that successfully drove Coors out of the Castro's bars. This alliance showed Milk's political genius. He built a powerful base that not only included LGBTQ+ voters, but also union members, working class families, and other minorities. This coalition propelled him to victory in 1977, making him the first openly gay man elected to major public office in California. He then used that power to help defeat Proposition 6, a statewide ballot measure that would have banned gay teachers from public schools, a victory that validated the political power of the LGBTQ community and its allies on a national stage. The lesson: power is multiplied when you find shared interests with other groups. Look for the overlapping circles in the Venn diagram of struggle. An injury to one is an injury to all, and a victory for one can become a victory for all. Your community organizer starter kit. How to get knowledgeable. So how do we start applying these lessons? The word organizing can feel intimidating. It conjures images of massive protests and complex political campaigns. But that's not where it starts. It starts with something much simpler: knowledge. You cannot change a system you don't understand. So here is your community organizer starter kit. 3 easy ways to get knowledgeable about what's happening in your zip code. First, find your local news source. This is your intelligence briefing. It could be a small community newspaper, a local news blog, or the neighborhood section of a larger paper. Google local news or blog. Follow them on social media. Set up a news alert. Their job is to report on the very issues, the zoning meetings, the new developments, the business openings and closings that we're talking about today. Second, identify your local community board or neighborhood council. Every neighborhood has a version of this. It's a public body, usually made up of volunteers, that serves as the most local form of government. They hold public meetings, often monthly, where they discuss and vote on things like liquor licenses for new bars, permits for street fairs, and most importantly, they give advisory options on land use and zoning decisions. Google Community Board Meeting and find their website. Look at their meeting schedule and agenda. You don't have to go. You don't have to speak. Just know that this is the space. Just know that this is where the ground level debates. Just know that this is where the ground level decisions are being debated. Knowledge is power. Third, join one local online group. This could be a neighborhood Facebook group, a Buy Nothing group, or a forum on an app like Nextdoor. Yes, these spaces can be filled with drama, like lost cats and bad parking. But they are also digital town squares. They are where you will hear the first whispers about a beloved local business being forced out, where you'll see a GoFundMe for a family that lost their house in a fire, and where people organize to petition the city for a new stop sign. It's an invaluable source of community intel. Your homework this week: find the date of your next local community board meeting. You don't have to go, just find the date and put it on your calendar. That's the first step. Post, "I found the date." Post, "I found the meeting date" in the comments when you do it. Let's hold each other accountable. Chapter 6, your 3-step community action plan. All right, we've covered the why and the how. We've seen the data and we've learned from history. Now, it's time for the what? It's time to move from listening to doing. Here is your 3-step plan to start taking back your community today. Step 1. Know your battlefield. Your first mission is intelligence gathering. This week, your only job is to become more informed about your zip code. Pick just one thing from the starter kit we discussed. Just one. Spend 10 minutes and find the name and contact information for your city council representative, or subscribe to one local news outlet's email newsletter, or, as I said, find the date of your next community board meeting. That's it. Knowledge is the foundation of all effective action. Step 2, vote with your dollars. Your second mission is economic. This week, I want you to consciously redirect a piece of your spending. Identify one locally owned business you haven't been to, or one you haven't visited in a while. A coffee shop, a hardware store, a tailor, a restaurant. Go there, make a purchase, even a small one. Have a conversation with the owner if you can. Feel the difference? This is a direct, tangible investment in the community you want to see. It's a vote for character over conformity. Step 3, vote with your vote. Your third mission is political, and it's the most important. Right now, while you're listening, I want you to take out your phone. I want you to search for Board of Elections. Find the date of your next local election, not the big national one, the one for mayor, city council, school board, or county judge. Find that date and create an event in your calendar for it. Set a reminder. The people who decide the fate of your neighborhood are chosen in these low turnout elections. Simply showing up is a revolutionary act. And here's one thing you can do this week to get started. Do step 1. Spend 10 minutes and find the date of your next community board meeting. Just find the date. That's the first domino. That's how it begins. Chapter 7. Picturing a future that is ours. I want you to picture this. Close your eyes if you need to. Imagine yourself a year from now, walking down your main street, and you're not just seeing storefronts, you're seeing neighbors. You know the names of the people behind the counters. You see a new community garden on a once vacant lot, and you smile because you remember being on the Zoom meeting when it was first proposed. You get an email about a local election and don't feel a wave of anxiety or apathy. You feel prepared. You feel informed because you know the candidates, you know the issues, and you know your vote matters immensely. You are no longer a passenger in your own neighborhood, watching the scenery change from the window. You are at the wheel. The community feels like a place. The community feels less like a place you rent or simply occupy, and more like a place you belong to. A place you are co-creating because you are actively, consciously, and powerfully building it. One conversation, one purchase, and one vote at a time. That is what it feels like to buy back the neighborhood. Chapter 8. The conversation is just beginning. Thank you for joining me on today's journey. We went from the feeling of loss from a closed corner store to a concrete 3-step plan to build a stronger community. We learned that our dollars have superpowers, our voices have immense leverage in the places that most people ignore, and our history gives us a clear, proven playbook for change. But this work isn't done alone. It's done with friends, with neighbors, and with families. It's done in conversations. Our Conversations is powered by you, our community. So please, share this episode with one person in your neighborhood who you think needs to hear it. Start a conversation on your block, in your building, at your local coffee shop. The change we want to see begins in our own zip code. Let's get to work. Until next time, this is Alain Andre, signing off. Brooklyn.
The operator